All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stats Don't Lie podcast. We have a very, very special episode today. Again, I am your host, Tim Whaley, a.k.a. my kids call me Dad, a.k.a. my friends, as you can see here, call me T. Wales. My niece and my nephews call me Uncle T. Guys, welcome. Welcome to another live episode of the Stats Don't Lie podcast here on YouTube. We appreciate everybody joining. I got some very special guests with me because we're going to talk about a very special topic today. I wanted to kind of shed some light on some of the racial injustices that are going on right now in the world. So I wanted to bring on a couple of my good friends. We got another one possibly joining a little bit later, but just to kind of talk about things. So I'm going to give them a second to introduce themselves. So Bryce, you can go first, introduce yourself. I know the people may have heard of you before, and then we'll go to Andrew. Just give kind of a little brief background, what you do, who you are, that sort of thing.
Word. I appreciate you having me on again, man. My name is Bryce Mitchell. I'm the head boys basketball coach at Tallwood High School, Virginia Beach native, still in the area, obviously. Teach PE at Larkspur Middle School, about to go into my 5th year as a teacher. I'll be going into my 2nd year as the head basketball coach at Tallwood. Definitely very happy to be here. Appreciate you asking me, man.
Drew, go ahead.
All right. Appreciate you having me on, T. Wells. My name is Drew. Different aliases, Andy Lee. But background, financial professional, background in accounting. So for the past couple of years, I've been in financial audit, project management, graduated from Hampton University, did ODU for graduate. And so right now, owner of Max Supreme, launched my own company after I left Amazon, but still by day trade, a financial analyst. But just a diversified background and culture and experience and talking to real people.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, I'm just so happy and honored that you guys joined me today for sure. Both of you guys bring something to the table. To be honest with you, both of these guys have shaped my life personally in a little different each way. Obviously, for those of you that don't know, I'm the head JV baseball coach at Tallwood High School. And I love watching Bryce coach. The things he does on the court for those boys, I admire and I look up to, even though Bryce is younger than me, right? But that's not what this is about. It's about seeing something that you want to obtain, seeing somebody do something that you admire and trying to do that. So, Bryce, I appreciate you. And Drew, just, man, we've known each other for going on almost 2 years now, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, him and I used to work together at Progressive. I'm still at Progressive personally. And Andrew and I, man, every single day we talk about life, we talk about family, we talk about the culture, we talk about everything. So, you know, I really appreciate y'all joining me. All right, so this is the Stats Don't Lie podcast. Why are we doing this? Why are we talking about this? Obviously, the social injustices and things that we got going on, they intertwine with sports, right? We had the Colin Kaepernick thing, you know, which we'll get to and we'll talk about a little bit later, but happened, you know, a couple years ago. So this goes hand in hand with sports, to be honest with you. But this is bigger than sports, right? This is a lot bigger than sports. And I just want to start out by saying, like, as a white guy, right? As a white guy, I think it's important for me to listen, right? Giving my insight on the situation or giving my insight and acting like I know what it's like to walk in Bryce's shoes or Drew's shoes, to me, is ignorant, right? It's disrespectful because I don't know. It's situations that I haven't been in, right? And a situation that I may never be in my life is in living everyday life the way that you guys, you know, right now, unfortunately, are having to live through these things, right? It's something that I'm never going to understand. So I just want to get that out of the way now. You know, whatever my opinions are or my perspective is, I don't want anybody to
just much respect for. I think that was well said. You know, I wish that that everyone could articulate in that manner and just really, you know, all of us come here and listen.
Absolutely. Look at little man. What's up, King? Yeah.
Young King, yeah.
So I wanted to start this off really quickly. I know this is rude, pulling up my cell phone probably, but
You good, man. You good.
I wanted to read this word for word, right? Because I think this is a good place to start. And before we kind of really dig into this, everybody that's live on YouTube, obviously we appreciate it so much. We see your comments. Keep commenting throughout, because the more you comment, the more we're able to respond. Bryce can see them. Drew, you can see them. So you guys feel free to stop and respond to any comments that you see through this whole thing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to read this here word for word, all right? Because I saw this posted, and it just threw a bunch of emotions to me. So I can imagine, what it does to you. But this is the last words, all right? This is the video. Somebody took the video of Mr. George Floyd's death, right, recently, and just put it on paper. And I just want to read them because it's crazy. It says, "It's my face, man. I didn't do nothing serious. Please, 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 I can't breathe. Please, man, I can't breathe. I can't breathe, please. Man, can't breathe. My face. Just get up. I can't breathe. Please. I can't breathe. I will. I can't move. Mama, I can't. My knee. I'm through. I'm claustrophobic. My stomach hurts. My neck hurts. Everything hurts. Some water or something. Please. Please. I can't breathe, officer. Don't kill me. They're going to kill me, man. Come on, man. I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe. They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Please, sir. Please, please, please. I can't breathe." Right? So that's what he said in that video. How give me a reaction to that from both of you guys. Bryce, we'll start with you.
That's my first time hearing that. Just putting that in that that little passage. I mean, obviously I've seen the whole video. But hearing it like that, I mean, that gives me chills, honestly. It gives me chills. I definitely pretty much every night since I've gone to sleep thinking yo, what if that was me? Right. What if that was me? But I mean, I still feel like it is me. I feel like it was me just because I'm a black man that lives in today's society, right? But emotions for that, man, it's horrifying. It's horrific. I mean, it's sick. It's terrifying just thinking about, and then seeing the video all the time, everywhere. It's still, it's almost like you don't want to watch it, but you have to, so you can feel that pain. You can feel that anger that everybody else has. It's a sick situation, and hearing that, I mean, it makes me emotional. It makes my heart pound like racing, honestly, just hearing it.
Yeah, and I know it's hard to. I mean, for me, it's hard to articulate that. When I read that, I thought the same thing as you. It's like, man, you see the video, and then you just read the words, and you're like, where's the disconnect, right? Drew, what about you?
Yeah, same sentiments that Bryce has. I mean, when you listen to the transcript, you hear a human, pleading, for his life. And I think this is probably the fourth incident that I saw this week where, the fourth African-American male is saying on some type of transcript, "I can't breathe," and not taken seriously. And so, to see the inhumane piece in here and to know that truthfully, this happens every single day in our country, right? The tactics, the force that is used among to restrain Black males is so forceful because of the fear. And let's put in the context. He said, "You don't need to do me like this. It was so minor." We're talking about allegedly him using a counterfeit $20 bill, and this type of force and restraint is used in most cases, right? You're going to use some type of reason and say, "Hey, let me talk to this individual and understand what happens." You're not talking about someone who, there's nothing to even justify this action. But when you think about how minor the incident was and the force, right, that was used, there's so many scenarios that come in mind where you think about, I think it was Dylan Roof, the shooter down in I believe South Carolina, after he did the church massacre, and he was given Burger King. He was taking Burger King, right? So, like I said, it's inhumane. 2 minutes and 43 seconds after George Floyd, say his name, right? Rest in peace to Big Floyd. He's going to change the world. 2 minutes and 43 seconds after he went unconscious, I can't even say this person's name, but this officer chose to still not let up the force that he was applying. And so the video captures something that happens every day. It's been happening for years.
Yeah, and I think you both kind of started to hit on a good point too. I mean, regardless of the crime, like you said, is a counterfeit $20 bill or something like that, right? It's like, we see pictures of, and you brought it up. I mean,
and let's say allegedly. I mean, we don't. If you look at the facts, right? I mean, how many times do we go to a store and get change back and you give 520s? You don't know that you're carrying around a counterfeit, so you have to presume George Floyd was innocent until proven guilty. He still was an innocent man being accused of something, and that I don't know what the facts came out on that, but still this didn't constitute most reasonable people. You're going to talk to someone about this situation, and the store can say I don't want this individual shopping here again, etc. But not this type of force.
Right.
Yeah.
Bryce, anything else on that?
No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, he said something about the kid from South Carolina. I mean, he goes up into a church. I think he shoots and kills like 9 black people, right? Intentionally targeting that church. I mean, my man had a bulletproof vest on coming out the police car or going into the courthouse or whatever. He got a Burger King. I mean, dude got treated like they did not want him to get hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Water. He wasn't even out of breath, and he got water.
Right. I mean, there's nobody that can tell me that there's a huge disconnect. You can't, if you don't see that, it's crazy. And then, I saw the video, and I'm sure you guys seen it. The white guy, he had the machete, and he's going crazy. He's swinging the machete around, and the officer is just, sitting there watching, like, yo, let's just wait for him to calm down. What? Wait for him to calm down. Man, look, if he was black, he would have had about 90 holes put in him. And I hate saying it like that. It sounds so derogatory, but I mean, it's true. It's true. They just let that man swing that machete. And you can see a video. They let him swing it around, swing it. I mean, he's swinging it at them and just backing up. George Floyd allegedly used a counterfeit $20 bill. And he had to his neck.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into my next point, guys, that I wanted to kind of bring up is, and before I say this, I'm friends with a lot of cops, right? And I know,
same,
not all police officers are like this one particular police officer, or some of the other police officers that we've seen that are doing these things, right?
That's facts.
And I think we can all agree on that. Not everybody's the same, right? So I don't want anybody to think that we're bashing, police or law enforcement or anything like that. But one thing that I feel, and I want to get your guys' opinion on it as well, is that the authority that's kind of given to police officers, right? Like the authority to do certain things and get away with it or be protected. Does that make sense? So when I'm thinking about this, the most recent one that I can think about, which for some reason just recently came up, is the Breonna Taylor situation. You guys heard about that?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you're listening, you don't know the story. Basically, the police had a warrant.
No knock warrant.
Knock warrant, right? Yeah. And they allegedly said that they knocked and obviously
the wrong
people
house.
that were outside.
The right house either.
Right. They went inside, they broke in, a shot was fired, protecting his home, right? Breonna's boyfriend, and then Breonna was shot and killed. I think she was shot 8 times, right? 8 times. And to me, that's just a little bit more authority than any one person should be given, even when it comes down to wearing a badge, if that makes sense. Being able to kick down a door and just spraying uncontrollably inside of a house like that, to me, it's just a little bit much.
Yeah, I'll comment on this piece because, it's already been studied that these no-knock warrants are unnecessary. And you got to why is the police going to for a no-knock warrant, right? They feel like the situation is so dangerous that they have to, immediately go in without announcing themselves. But
Yeah.
in my opinion, in my viewpoint, is that that's where you need to build community relations, right? This is where you need to become active in your community, talk to your coaches. I'm sure when they put that address up, they had full awareness who lived there, right? And Breonna Taylor, say her name as well, an essential worker, a paramedic, right? And so I'm sure the officers can understand that if they went to the wrong house, this being America, a lot of individuals, in their bedroom are ready to protect their property. So if you're entering from a no-knock warrant, in Florida and other states, you have the ability to stand your ground regardless of who's coming in. A lot of witness accounts, attest that, they didn't know it was the police, but this shows the danger and the critical mistake if you get it wrong. And this is at the expense of someone's life, someone who was valuable to the community, someone who was contributing to the community every day, and then to unjustly put her boyfriend in jail. And the police report came out. It was completely blank. They didn't even put any detail behind it because, this is what's missing in a lot of police reporting: transparency, honesty, right? This is why it's hard to trust the authorities. And this is why my view is that you need people that are trained, that have social science degrees, that can coaches, teachers that know how to diffuse a situation. Too often, the police want to hear amped up to escalate the situation.
Yeah, and Bryce, I'll let you comment on that in a second, but I did want to bring up, since you did just kind of bring it up, I have a buddy who was over this weekend who is actually in the police academy right now. So I can say that he's in his 4th week of police academy training, and they're already here in Virginia. Well, he's in Norfolk, but Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake area where they all train at, they're already implementing changes, right? They're already, hey, we're not teaching chokeholds, we're not teaching X, Y, and Z. And the instructors that are there are expressing their what do you want to call it? Their I guess opposition to what happened, right? Which is good. Now, why it's taking this long? We'll get into that discussion, in a little bit. But those are the kind of changes that I feel need to be made. It starts there at a place like the academy, and those things need to be mandated. Those things need to be watched carefully. What are we teaching? What are we doing? How are we? If this situation comes up, how are we handling it? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, Bryce, you can comment on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, I'm definitely appreciative that, my dad just commented and said he was a police officer for 27 years, and he was a good cop. He's right. He was a good cop. He was an African-American cop in Norfolk, one of the few for those 27 years when he was a cop. So I appreciate you, Pop.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mitchell, for that. We appreciate your service for sure.
I'm glad to hear that there's changes being made, like in the trainings and all that. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of change to come. There has to be. I mean, come on, man. We're at this point now. A lot of people are more logical, man. Like we just there has to be change in our training, especially with the police force. I got friends that are police officers. I do not think every single police officer is bad, but do I still feel a little shook when a police officer pulls up behind me while I'm driving? Yes,
every day.
I feel shook when a police officer pulls up behind me. When I see a police officer driving, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't get tense. The whole no-knock warrant thing and all that, I'm kind of still learning. I'm learning about that as I hear it. It's not like I'm, looking up the types of warrants and stuff like that, but just thinking about the fact that they busted into the house, and it's a surprise to somebody. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not going to have the gun underneath my bed if I hear somebody busting into my house, no matter who it is.
Hey,
right?
Me too.
And if they're not addressing themselves, or if they don't look like police officers and so forth, it's, what do you expect me to do? What do you expect me to do? And then it begs me to question, like, you know, where is the what happens in those scenarios, right? So they have the authority to go into the house. They have the authority to knock down the door and to go in, right, and to do whatever they feel like they can do, whatever the heck they want. What's going on when, you know, let's just say they're in the wrong house, or, you know, they got the wrong guy? Like, I mean, are you just, you know, blatantly guns blazing, ready to spray, or like, are you asking questions, trying to figure things out? And like you said, Drew, about community relations, like if you got those community relations, then maybe you know who's there before you're going into that crib, or you know who's, you know, might be in there in terms of family members and things like that.
Exactly, Bryce. Yeah.
Then, you know, if you got the wrong place, I mean, what's going on in terms of, like, you know, if I'm the police officer and I'm going in and I'm like, oh shoot, this might be the wrong house. Like, what's going through their heads? That's the thing that's mind-boggling to me, man. And like I said,
Taylor, for her to be shot 8 times, Bryce, you brought up a good point, and I'm just interjecting to let you finish.
8 times.
You think about, there could have been children, there could have been grandmothers, there could have been a grandfather, right? You just saw my son get up here. You know, fortunately, she didn't have any kids, right? But that weren't harmed. But you think about your family. There could have been a whole living family in that house, and it's just you just brought up a good point, Bryce, that made me think, like, what about you have to assess to say, wow, are there children here? I mean, no one should go into a house and fire that many shots, and she had 8 bullet wounds in her, and she's unarmed.
Think about that. 8 shots fired. 8. And now think about this. As black men, as black people, now we just talked about, you know, when we go out and we get in our cars and we drive, we already feel shook, right? Because a lot of traffic routines or traffic stops that happen, unfortunately, end up in the black man dying for no reason. Now I gotta go to sleep. I got a 1-month-old in my house. You know, I got my wife here. Now I gotta go to sleep every night thinking, like, you know, every little thing I hear at night. It's just something added on, right? The Breonna Taylor thing now is like another scenario for us to be like, crap, do I even feel safe in my own home? Because what if that was?
You can't bird watch in the park. You can't barbecue in the park. I mean, the list continues to add up. You know,
it's uncomfortable. It's very, very, very uncomfortable.
Right.
And I'll chime in. I mean, literally yesterday I was, you know, we were driving to for me to play disc golf. I don't make fun of it, but I've been working out, you know. But thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Do your thing.
Look, but we're on the way, and there's obviously, you know, there's cops along the side of the highway waiting to pull people over, and sure enough, first thing, boom, you know, I pass the cop gets out behind me. My first thought isn't my life's in danger, right? And I'm being honest with you guys. That's just because I haven't had to deal with that. Like I said earlier, it's not something that I can't walk in y'all's shoes when it comes to that. My first thought was, are my registration tags good, right? And that's not a joke. That's not to be funny, because afterwards, after I thought that, my immediate next thought came to this moment, talking to you guys and thinking to myself, I have 2 kids in the back. If my first thought is, oh man, you know, my life might end right now, I couldn't imagine, right? I can't imagine having that thought run through my head.
Right. And Bryce, I mean, we both can relate, you know, even having family members and law enforcement and federal government, when we're pulled over by the police, our first thought is to survive the situation. Like, hands immediately go up. I have tinted windows. They come down, and my hands are always in display. And it's how I have to teach my son as well. I have to teach my son how to breathe appropriately if he's being placed on the ground. I mean, he's 2.5. You know,
I'm not
putting him like that, but it's like, but the fact that, you know, I'm to clarify that point, I'm just telling him how to breathe, like take deep breaths and, you know, think about your situation. But I know for me and Bryce, it's definitely like every time we get pulled over, it's my hands are up. All right, you can see me. Hey, I need to let you know. instruction by instruction. My information is in that glove box, right? And now we have to change our pattern. Now I have to keep that information probably in the sunglasses holder in the front. But no matter where it is, I have to still reach somewhere in the car to get it. I don't keep it in my back wallet anymore because I know that's too dangerous. Too many stories about African Americans being, is it Philando Castile, or I can't remember his name, where he, shared step-by-step instruction. Hey, officer, I am have a right to carry. I'm armed, and the officer, out of fear, just shot him. Out of fear, just not out of reason, just out of straight like, this is what you shared with me, and I feel obligated to shoot you, right? Because you're sharing information with me. So that's the reality, is that when we're pulled over, we're thinking about survival. Like, I want to get home. Like,
yeah, I don't say this in a bad way, but you're bringing up like more scenarios for us, for reasons why we need to be worried. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying it's all facts, right? So now it's like, I got to realize like where I leave my wallet at, because if I get pulled over, I don't want to be seen going into my glove box and fiddling with things, you know what I'm saying? Or going into compartments where they can't see if I get pulled over and they want to ask for these things, right? So, I mean, I never really, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I never really thought about that until just now. So I'm glad you brought it up, because that is important, right? I know where I keep my wallet in my car, and, I just talked to my wife about this, and I talked to my boy about this the other day. Like, the last time I got pulled over by a cop, I had one of my friends in the car when he played college basketball with me. He's a white dude, and, the officer came around to his side. I was driving. He was on the passenger side. He came around passenger side, and the officer didn't look tense or anything. My first thought is keep my hands on the steering wheel. But I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I did feel a little comfortable because my white friend was sitting next to me in the passenger seat. I did feel a lot more comfortable. I really did. And this was just, I think, a year and a half ago now. Okay, now I did get a ticket for speeding, so I can't do anything about that. But I did feel comfortable that he was there, right? I don't know how I would have felt if he wasn't there. And I think that sucks too. That sucks to know. Like, I don't know how I would have felt if he wasn't there. My brother Brian just said in Louisville they banned the no knock warrant in response to Breonna Taylor's death. So that was a good move. I mean, obviously there's a lot of changes getting ready to come. But the point I wanted to make was what you just said about the whole, where you keep things now in your car. I just hit on it, but I find that to be really important. Like we just said, the fear of even just going out driving, the fear of going to sleep and hoping you wake up with no, cops running into your house for no apparent reason, right? Now it's, the fear of, obviously we fear getting pulled over, but now it's, again, I told my wife this the other day, like, if a cop pulled me over tomorrow, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm keeping my hands literally flat on the dashboard, and I'm telling the cop where my wallet is, where my registration is. I have no firearms. What do you want me to do first?
Right.
And I am not looking to do anything stupid. What do you want me to do first before I move? And I'm going to move very slowly as you tell me. And it sucks because I shouldn't have to think that way. I shouldn't have to do that. But right now, today, if I get pulled over tomorrow, that is what I'm doing so that I feel more comfortable with my life if I'm in that situation.
Yeah. And Anthony commented, Anthony Burchett, and said it seems that they're trained to roll in and roll over anybody in the house and neighborhood, and they have the badge to protect them. It's the badge and training that's showing them how to do it or telling them how to do it. And that's kind of why I brought up that point earlier, like that, it's clear that they're trained that way. And that needs to change, right? So one of the reasons, just to kind of move forward just a little bit, one of the reasons I'm getting texts and everything right now, like, and people that have talked to me or asked me, like, obviously it's not what my podcast is about, right? So, why are you doing this? Why is this something you feel that I feel obliged to do? And for me as a white guy, in these times, it's important, like I said earlier, it's important for me to listen. And it's important for me. I mean, as I'm sitting back and I'm talking to my significant other, I'm talking to Elizabeth. She just commented as well, said you guys are super powerful. So we appreciate your stories and awareness. But as I'm sitting back and I talk to her, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what can I do? I don't have millions of dollars. I can't donate, to any causes. I got bills to pay. Right? I got all this. I got kids to take care of. But I mean, I have a podcast. I have a forum. I have the tools to be able to get on and just talk, right, to you guys, to the Black community, to people that I look up to. Like I said, you guys aren't just people that I texted out of the blue and said, hey, I need you on because you're Black, right? That's not what I did. I purposely looked at you, Drew, and you, Bryce, and these are two guys that I absolutely look up to in different aspects of life. And I think it's important for me to listen and let you guys have a stage to talk about these issues so that other people can understand exactly what's going on. Because the stories that you guys tell right now, we don't know about as white people. I don't have an issue of being pulled over and having to put my hands on the dashboard.
Yeah.
These are
And
things
here's
that we don't deal with.
T. Wells, one big thing here too, it's like it starts, and I appreciate you so much because it does start with listening. It starts with empathy, right? It starts with understanding, shared understanding. That's an inclusive value, right? And now you see it on Instagram, share Black stories. I wanted to bring up Ahmaud Arbery, the fact that in my own neighborhood, I cannot run in the morning before 8 o'clock. I have to wait for the sun to fully come up. Incident no more than 3 weeks ago. I live in Virginia Beach, and I'm decided to walk at night. And I'm very conscious of when I walk, but I wasn't conscious of how soon the sun was going down. But my walking, startled some neighbors I knew on another, not too far from me, that started to, and I've seen them out walking before, and I was walking behind them, and I guess with the sun setting, they couldn't see me. So they turned off into a completely different street. And I'm like, wow, I guess they're taking a different route. But I could hear them saying, come on, we have to go this way. And this is just the reality, jogging. You think about Ahmaud Arbery, it's just jogging, exercising, and I can't even do that. I don't know about likely for Bryce as well. 5 a.m. jog in the morning where I see my neighbors on an early morning. Sun hasn't really come up yet. I know I got to wait another 3 hours before I'm out there. And those are the facts. That's just another story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know each one of you got so many more that's probably like that, obviously I can't share, or nobody of my skin pigment can share stories like that and understand kind of what it's like. So, again, I appreciate y'all for doing this. Anthony, again, commented that he is a law enforcement officer and he's afraid with stories to tell. So, Anthony, hit me up, bro. I'm going to hit you up as soon as this is over because I'm interested to talk about it. I want to give you a chance to talk about it. If you want to talk about it, we'll get back on this thing and do it. But to shift gears a little bit, I know, Bryce, you sent me an email about something that you really wanted to talk about. So we're going to talk about this next. Now, just a precursor, I don't know if this video, if the live YouTube channel stops at 45 minutes or not. If it does, we're going to let it stop, upload, and I'm going to start it again, and we're just going to do a part 2. Cool? Y'all good with that?
Cool.
All right. So just a disclaimer there. But Bryce, you sent me something, and I saw it on Instagram, your Instagram as well, and I reposted it. And it's about the All Lives Matter, right? And it says, Black Lives Matter. And nobody ever said only Black Lives Matter, right? And then All Lives Matter. We just need your help with Black Lives Matter, for Black lives are in danger. In other words, yes, all lives matter. I think we can all unifiably agree all lives matter, right? I'm a man of God, Drew. I know you're a man of God. Bryce, I'm sure you're a man of God. We haven't got to talk about that. All lives matter. We get that. But right now, in this time, in this moment in history, it's not about all lives matter. In my opinion, right now, it's time to step up for Black lives. Black lives matter is what we're looking at. So for certain people, for white people to come out, anybody to come out and say, well, yes, Black lives matter, but all lives matter. It's kind of a contradictory statement to me. Yes, we know that. But right now, we need to focus on what's important, and that's Black lives. So I'll let you guys comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. It's not like it's not rocket science. When I see people comment on Facebook, all lives matter. Well, duh. I mean, we all know that. But let's look at what's going on right now. I'm not even about to make up my own little analogies. I'm just going to use what I've heard on TV. And honestly, it's not that I was even ignorant to it. It's just it's facts, and the analogies that they've already said are just dead on, right? I mean, if your house is on fire and my house is not on fire, I'm not going to say, hey, come spray water on my house because my house matters too. No, your house is not on fire. My house is not on fire. His house is on fire. It's obvious. It's facts. I mean, it's dead on. You don't even need anything else because a lot of people are seeing it like, well, all lives. You shouldn't just be talking about Black lives. It's all lives. I mean, look, don't get it twisted. I mean, Black people, we ain't perfect. Nobody's perfect. I've done wrong things. Drew, sure, maybe I don't know you, but you might have done some things you weren't supposed to do neither. But at the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all humans, right? Everybody has done some things not supposed to do. Okay, we've all committed sins, so forth. Okay, but for a lot of people to still try to justify why we shouldn't be saying only Black Lives Matters, it's crazy to me because you don't see white people rant. I just told you guys, man, the guy, he had the machete swinging at the cops. Cops are chilling, backing up. The white kid goes into the church and he's gunning down Black people. He gets a bulletproof vest, a bottle of water, and gets, what do you say, Burger King or whatever? Like, come on, man. I mean, George Floyd may have, and if he did, okay, a fake $20 bill, and he got a knee to his neck. Ahmaud Arbery was jogging. And you're right. You brought up another good point, Drew. Like, yeah, I go jogging, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I feel very comfortable when I go jogging. Matter of fact, cops drove by me a couple times last week when I went jogging. Of course, now, and again, I ain't got nothing against every single cop. I don't. I really don't. And I'm not going to be that person. But of course, the cops sticking their hands out and they're waving at me, right? Never happened to me before until then. Never happened to me before until then. But obviously, with the times we're living in, they might be trying to prove a point like, hey, I'm one of the good ones. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? Right. But, point being, like, I don't have that luxury of feeling super comfortable anymore in my, I guess you could say suburban type of neighborhood of going out and jogging. I just don't understand the whole, everybody, and it's not Black people, honestly, it's white people that are saying you should be talking about all lives. Right now, it's not about all lives. Yes, all lives do matter, but Black lives are the ones in danger. And I'll say this real quick, T, the fact that you're trying to learn, I think that's where it starts. I've had white people hit me up. I'm a teacher. My own assistant principal called me and was like, yo, I just want to talk. Like, just teach me something because I don't understand what's going on and I want to understand. And I'm cool with that. I have nothing against that. I'm open to anybody that wants to call and talk and let me just tell them how I feel and what we go through and what we feel and what we think each day, because that's where it starts. If you're not willing to talk about it, if you're not willing to learn, if you're not willing to learn about it, then you're still part of the problem.
Right. And that's a great point. I mean, anybody who knows me knows it's not, it's not a question, but again, like I've been asking for a long time, right? I've been trying to learn for a long time. And for white people out there that are like scared or they don't know where to start, just like you said, it's a phone call, it's a text to somebody that and open this dialogue and open this conversation. And for those of you that are listening that may not be willing to do that or aren't, ready to do that, that's kind of why we're doing this, to open
Talk
that
to T. Wells. Talk to T. Wells. Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. And I'll get shoot, if I don't know the answers, I'll find somebody that does, because I have some really, really great people in my lives I have great Black men in my life that I lean on every day to guide me. Right. And I'm proud of that. I love that. I mean, I can tell you, just to kind of give you a little story, I'm gonna hit on a comment, and then Drew, I'll let you comment on the All Lives Matter. All right.
No, I was gonna say less. I just saw J.M. Lucas Terry said he can't get up there to talk with us about it, but for clarification, all lives matter, but white lives already are treated as if they matter. So Black Lives Matter is just a reminder saying, hey, Black lives do matter as well.
We're here too. No? You know what I'm saying?
We are here too, and we want our lives to matter equally.
Right.
I think Michael Shea said it. You know, I'm all about it's because it's frustrating talking about it. It's all about equality, but you know, Michael Shea. I'm sure you probably saw this, Bryce and T. Wells. You saw this point out. My 30 seconds in it was like, you know, in the 60s we were fighting for civil rights. You know,
right.
Man, that was so powerful. We weren't fighting for equal. We were fighting for civil. We were, you know, crazy. When Martin Luther King was assassinated, he was in Memphis, Tennessee, and he was fighting for just the civil rights of the sanitation workers down there that said, treat me like another man. You know, I'm a man. That's where I'm a man comes from. It says, you're treating me less than a man. And if we're still fighting for civil rights, so it's good to see a lot of organizations, you know, really step up and put Black Lives Matter to say just as a reminder. And that's where I'll stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I mean, he even said it at the end, it's about equality, right? But I mean, let's think about it. Let's, you know, if Martin Luther King was with us today and he was seeing this and he's like, man, we're doing this again. It's 50 years later, you know, 60 years later, whatever it is. And now we're trying to fight again for equality.
And T. Wells, Martin Luther King wasn't loved until after death.
Right.
So that's another point to keep in mind. He was hated his entire life. He was beaten. He was put in jail. He was attacked. So many death threats. Martin Luther King, Bernice King said this, wasn't loved until his death, until people realized what he was trying to say. Right. So while he was still living, he was still treated like a Black man. Now that's real.
And that sucks too, because it's almost like it almost takes death in order for everybody to have these discussions, in order for people to start caring. I mean, Trayvon Martin, right? You talk about Ahmaud Arbery, Eric Gardner, and now look what happened with George Floyd. Imagine if, and I hate to say this, imagine if George Floyd didn't happen.
Right.
We wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, and it's sad. It's like, you know, it's like when you're growing up, man, and I mean, you know, I know everybody wasn't raised the same, but you know, you get a spanking for doing something wrong, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it. It's like, no, this isn't real. This isn't real. You know, I can do it. And then one day you wake up and you're like, oh, this is going to happen every single time if I don't do something different, right? Like now we're looking at this now, and we're saying this is going to keep happening if we don't do something different. This should have happened a long time ago. Now, me personally, I was introduced to, and I'm just going to call it really blatantly, just racism when I was young. I couldn't have been more than 10 or 11 years old when I was first introduced to it. And, you know, it didn't come from my household. It didn't come from, you know, my family, because my family, you know, it was never like that. My mother raised 3 kids by herself. And it was an open house, so everybody was loved, everybody was welcome, right? And that's the way that I raised my kids today. I raised my kids to love everybody, no matter what, right? That's what the Bible teaches us to do. That's what I'm going to teach my kids to do. But when I was young, like I said, 10 or 11 years old, I walked into a Moose Lodge, and I had a next door neighbor that was a Black friend of mine, and it wasn't he was light skinned, right? Really light skinned, and we used to play, you know, football all the time and basketball and jump on the trampoline, all kinds of stuff. Always was welcome over to my house, and always, you know, this and that. And I remember walking down to a Moose Lodge that my mother was in. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with what a Moose Lodge is. It's just a hangout spot for adults and children and stuff like that. And we walked into one, and immediately I was grabbed by somebody, and they said, "Why did you bring him in here?" And I'm thinking about, mind you, I'm maybe my son's age, 11 years old, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is my friend. I'm here to see my mom. We just want some juice boxes and some Dunkaroos. Like, I'm just trying to get some permission here, right? Like, what do you mean? And they literally grabbed me and his name is Steven. I'll never forget. I haven't talked to him since, right? I mean, obviously growing up, but since I moved here, I haven't been in touch, but I'll never forget him. And we got walked out the back door and told to go home and that he wasn't welcome here. And to me, it didn't strike me as, what racism at the time, right? I'm 11 years old, but I'm thinking to myself, what just happened, right? I don't get it. What just happened? And it wasn't until I moved here to Virginia, and got a little bit older and realized like that was the first time I was introduced to that. And it, I never told my mother about that. Because to me, again, I just looked at that establishment like I don't want to be a part of that establishment anymore. I don't want to go there anymore. I don't want to be a part of that. If my friends aren't welcome, I'm not going back. So just a little story about, like I said, how young I was. And I look at our children. Bryce, you have a young daughter. Drew, you have a young king, right? And the things that I have to teach my kids are different than the things you guys have to teach your kids. So I wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit as well, as far as some of the things, Drew, I know you hit on it a little bit, but some of the things you're going to have to teach your children, moving forward, and how we can kind of promote that a little bit.
Drew, you got started, so go ahead.
So, this was a powerful quote I read the other day, and T. Wells, when we link, first thing we say is love. It's for the love. That's what. Yeah. It say less. It's for the love. And this was a quote by Nelson Mandela. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate. But if they can learn to hate, they can also be taught to love. Right. Love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. And I think, at the end of the day, here are the facts, right? Love does prevail in this sense. Hope is still there for connection, because this meeting of us is based on, for the love, right? And I think, to harbor hate in your heart, I don't think that comes natural for anyone. There has to be some type of experience or something that happened to you. I saw a picture of, I think it was taken in the early 90s, of a state trooper, a black state trooper, and he had to protect a KKK rally. And you had a 2 or 3 year old girl in kind of the attire for the rally come, and not knowing, just stand next to him and touch his police shield. And that right there was symbolism to show that naturally we gravitate to each other based on love, and really to harbor these emotions, to make a stance of all lives matters, is really to push against the grain, to have empathy. And I just know that I can't live my life like that. I can't harbor that in me because of the son that I have. And regardless of what how society is going to treat him, I have to put enough love in his heart that he can overlook the offense and say, you know what, hey man, probably having a bad day, love you, I'm gonna keep it moving, right? He's better for that than to engage in any type of conflict. Yeah. Right now, there's a time for everything, and from a spiritual perspective, this country was built on protest. This country was built on fighting for justice, right? But it was at the expense of others as well. And so when I hear the whole, why people have to protest, and I know Bryce will probably chime in on this piece, Colin Kaepernick tried kneeling, took the peaceful route, and there's no win here. There's no win other than to use your voice and speak up. So
right. So why do we think it's different now? Like, I'm curious I wish I could talk to some NFL owners, right? Like I know it's about the bottom dollar with NFL owners a lot of times, and
all about it,
right? But why do you think it's different now, right? And those peaceful protests, people are looking at like, yeah, that's probably the right way to go. Like, why is it different now than when Cap did it then?
Because Kaepernick pretty much. I mean, he like Drew just said, like he tried to bring awareness to it. He tried to open y'all's eyes up. When I say y'all, I'm talking about, everybody. He tried to open their eyes up, and he tried to make people aware, and nobody wanted to listen. People ask me all the time. I've had white people call me, and they, what do you think about the rioting and the looting? And I'm like, same thing you just said, Drew. I'm like, look, I'm not with looting. I'm not with rioting. I don't think you need to be. I wouldn't be burning buildings down and stealing from stores and all that stuff. However, tried kneeling, nobody wanted to listen. People tried peaceful protesting, nobody wanted to listen. Now you got people burning buildings down, people are listening. I mean, I'm not with it.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with your sentiment 110%. Like, no, and here's the thing. People like you, Bryce, and you're not going to go out there and loot Targets for TVs and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. But at this point, like people are angry. People are angry, and they're going to act how they act. Not everybody has the values that we were raised up on, or whatever the case is, right? Or whatever they think looting is important, or whatever they're doing it for. I've seen white people in there looting, like they just doing it just to take stuff because everybody else is taking stuff, and so at this point, Cap tried kneeling and protesting peacefully. And to be 100% honest with y'all, Cap has peacefully protested for years now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, right? He still is peacefully protesting.
Still is peacefully protesting, and he is doing a heck of a job. He's a humanitarian in different countries now at this point, doing what he's doing, and working on what he believes in. Right. And he's doing that in a way that is absolutely going to be remembered for decades, right, to come, because people like us are going to pass this stuff on to our generational little ones and things like that. So people are angry, man, and they're going to do these things. They're going to loot. They're going to riot. They're going to do all these things because nothing else has worked. Nothing else has worked. So you can't judge somebody. Like I said, I've said this probably 3 or 4 times in this show. I can't judge anybody because I'm not in that place. I'm not in y'all's shoes. I don't know what that feels like. I'm not scared. I'm a little scared. I'm not as scared as y'all are scared, right? I don't feel the feelings that y'all feel. So I never can I judge somebody for looting, rioting, whatever it is. I can't justify being angry with that person for the way that they're lashing out.
And there's a lot of emotion tied to it. Even voting, they say people vote emotionally. That's, why we are in the state we are right now is that vote was based on emotion. But I think Barack Obama, President Barack Obama, who I acknowledge, he said something pretty profound in terms of, he said it's really, you do have to, I always learn this term is to, if you are feeling some type of emotion or some type of, sentiment in you, take a nap or something. But he actually stated that how long it actually takes if you burn a Black business in your own community for it to get funding to restart again or to, get the loans or whatever. It takes about 80 or I forgot the stat. It was something, a long amount of time. And so, there's more ways to get involved actively, think consciously when you protest, and then really try to disseminate that information and say, hey, this is where we can affect in our elections at the local level. Your mayor, he's responsible for your police chief and your prosecutor, et cetera, like that. And it's that type of information that you got to disseminate to the community so that they know, all right, how can I affect change now? So.
Yeah.
Hey, T, if you don't mind, real quick.
Go ahead.
'Cause I want to make sure I say this. I'm not. Again, I'm not with the looting and all that stuff. But I do think that people got to realize, like, people wanted to be heard and nobody was listening. I think that's the thing that people forget about, and people were trying to be heard peacefully and nobody was listening. And then people were trying to be heard peacefully and getting fired from their jobs, Colin Kaepernick, right? And then nobody was listening. And then it just so happens that this happens. And not only does it happen like this, it happens with the guy. And I kind of laugh about it because it's crazy. Colin Kaepernick took a knee. Now this dude's taking a knee on George Floyd's neck. Right. And now it's just like, wait a minute. That's what he was talking about? Yes, that's what he was talking about. And for it to happen the way it did, I mean, I'm a basketball coach. When I'm trying to get the referee's attention, I'm like, hey, why'd you make that call? And he ignores me. Comes back down. Hey, can you just explain that call to me? Ignores me. And then during a timeout, I spaz out. And I'm like, you got to stop ignoring me. I'm trying to get your attention. Can you just tell me why you made? And he gives me a technical foul. And I'm like, well, you weren't listening to me. So I thought maybe if I raise my voice and I get a little angry, then you might listen,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like I said earlier, like you put your hand in a cookie jar, you're going to slap your hand. If you keep doing it, it's going to get worse. It's going to go outside and get a switch. Now we're at that point, right? Well, we got to go outside and we really got to cause damage because you're not listening. You're just not listening. And after a while, people can only take so much of not listening. So I want to go to a couple comments. Jay, again, Jay's had some great insight here. And Jay's another guy that I look up to. He's been a mentor of mine, really good guy. But he said, hate, it's taught and passed down to children from adults over generations. We've got to come together to change this generation to ensure racist hatred is eradicated from as many hearts as possible. And I agree 110% with that sentiment. And that's why part of the reason why I brought you guys on in particular is because it starts with us. It starts with us. It starts with our young people, the kings and queens that we're raising in this community to actually make a change. So another comment, that's Mom Dukes. Angela Wood says, I agree. I think society as a whole, parents, teachers, mentors need to express how important it is that we all live in equality and we love each other. My mom's raised me like that, since I was a kid. So I don't know any different. So
thank you, Mom. That's amazing.
Absolutely. All right. So kind of getting, I'm going to wrap this up here in a little bit, I think, unless some more stuff comes up for sure. But I want to talk about change, right? So I want to get your guys' opinion on, and we just hit on it a little bit, right? Obviously, it starts with our children in this generation. But what can we do to make a change? What can we do? And when I say we, I mean we as a community. And then I also want you guys to give your insight as far as you can be blunt. We as white people, what can we do to make a change? What can we do to help? What can I do, to help to understand more, whatever the case is? So I'll let each of you guys kind of speak on that.
I'm gonna start real quick. I'll have to go two routes, like you said. One, in terms of white people, what they can do is, I think one can do stuff like this, just reaching out to Black men in particular, or Black people obviously all around, and just asking questions, wanting to learn more. Express that you want to learn more. Express that you have ignorance towards how we feel and what we go through on a daily basis. Because if we can have civil dialogue with each other, right, and it not be anything ignorant towards both of us, like you say what you need to say and you tell me how you feel. I had somebody a couple of days ago on a Facebook Messenger, a good friend of mine from Winchester. He said he didn't agree with what Colin Kaepernick did by kneeling. He understood why he did it, but he didn't agree why, he shouldn't have used the national anthem. And I told him, I said, hey, I appreciate you telling me that. I'm not mad at that. I disagree. I think he did it and it brought awareness to it, but we had that dialogue and it wasn't butting heads, right? It wasn't butting heads like it might have been years ago. So you guys, like white people just reaching out and trying to learn and talking to us, seeing what, trying to feel what we feel in a sense. I think it starts there. And then in terms of what we can do as a whole, as a community, I'm an educator. So I'm at the middle school level, so I see the cognitive, and I know the cognitive abilities of these kids from 6th to 8th grade. I mean, even in high school, me being a high school basketball coach, but me actually being in school at the middle school level, I think we need to do something along the lines of just getting some type of classes taught. Maybe I think more at the 8th grade level, even if it's like a once a week type of class. It's hard to do things after school, man. Nobody wants to stay after school and do things, but if it has to be something like that or before school, we have mentor groups, but I think more needs to be done. I'm talking about like classes, like you actually come up with these curriculums about equality, about love, about loyalty, things like that to get the kids to start understanding.
Right.
And then you can see them having dialogue with each other and bring up racism, bring up black and white, and bring up the different cultures, the diversity, bring it up, let them know about it. Because right now we're all saying things to each other that we wouldn't have said to each other 5 years ago.
Right.
So it's a lot more comfortable now, but bring it up early, in the schools, not in a negative way, but in a positive way, how we love each other. And then let it grow from there. You move it into the high school levels, and then now you're seeing the kids, maybe seniors, the seniors now they're teaching the class, or now they're coming to the middle school level, talking to the kids and things like that. I think it starts obviously at home, but if we can bring it into the schools, I think that'd be great.
Yeah. Andrew?
Yeah. I wanted to read a few points I thought were pretty poignant. I actually watched George Floyd's homegoing service, and it was very emotional.
Yeah.
And I think there were some candid things said there about acknowledgement to the Black community. I don't think there's ever been any reconciliation. If you talk about from 1619 until now, 400 years, the Black community and the white community has never reconciled differences. And T. Wells, we come from a place of faith, and Bryce as well. Before you can take communion, you're supposed to reconcile with your brother, right? And these were just some of the points that it's going to take all of us to do this work, and we need white voices who hold the power more than ever. We also need white ears, and they're willing to listen, learn, and stand in front of us and beside us in the fight. I think T.D. Jakes was saying what was so beautiful about the protest is that it wasn't like a multitude of Black people marching. It was a multicultural movement, Black, white, Asian, Latino, right? That was the beautiful thing about the protest, is that it was a mixed, and so these are just some things. It says, I got this from a very good friend of mine, Dr. Shabazz, and she's a certified psychologist, but she said, Black people, remember to rest and don't beg anyone to see you who doesn't care. Seek out supportive spaces. And then for white people, keep listening and choose your battles wisely when sharing your newfound knowledge. And these were just the last points I'll share here. Reminders for the week. Anti-racism is a lifestyle, not a trend. Less talk, more action, right? And the more action comes in voting at the local level. What Bryce was saying, teaching in our homes, practice daily self-care. I think when you look at kind of the other movements out here, like All Lives Matters, or these hate groups, I can assure you they're not practicing any type of daily self-care. But more importantly, share stories, seek out supportive spaces, more listening. I mean, that's emphasized more often than not. Learn not to be an expert, but a better anti-racist ally. Know your limits and unplug, and the personal is the political. So I'll close on this point. I think, I forgot who shared it at George Floyd, but I do think, in this next election cycle, that it is to consider to have a reconciliation committee that will bring this country together and change the history books, knock down all these Confederate statues. I really applaud NASCAR and
Yeah.
And Bubba, he spoke up, the only African-American NASCAR driver, said, you know what? And he's friends with the, president of NASCAR, and he listened because they were friends, just like us talking right here. I can talk to you, T. Wells, any day. I can talk to you, Bryce, any day, and share our stories, and it's listen. So those are just some of the things that we just got to, talk about the transparency of history. Take, the only Christopher I know is, Biggie Smalls, Chris Wallace, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say as well, just coming from my perspective, right? Like, just know, white people, I'm talking to you, that we want to interact, we want to listen, and we want to be an ear. We want to learn more, right? And it's cool that you're eager to do that. And if you are willing to do that, I want you to do that. We want you to do that. However, just know that the feelings that Bryce and Drew and many other African Americans are feeling, it's not just what's happened in the last 5 or 6 years, right? Their opinions, their anger, their whatever they're feeling, it's not just from the last 5 or 6 years. This is hundreds of years of oppression that is built up within people that you're talking to. So you have to realize that this is bigger than just what's going on now. This has been going on for so long, and just expect that when you have these conversations, they're not going to be easy conversations, right? They're going to be real. Some of them are going to be difficult to have, but you got to be a listening ear, right? When we talk about white people in the past, it's not the white people of now, right? It's not everybody, but those things happen, whether we like it or not. And we have to be willing to face those consequences when we speak to people of color. So white people, I'll say it again, just be ready to have the difficult conversation, because it's not just what happened recently. It's years and years of oppression that's building up in everybody that you talk to. Let's see, a couple comments. My sister Brittany commented, and I think these are 3 good sayings. I mean, that you can start. I hear you, I see you, I feel you, right? Like, I hear you, I see you, you're there, I feel you. Let's communicate, let's talk. She also said she hates watching the news, not just during this time, but all times. It's so sad all the time. So with that, my children aren't fully aware of what's going on, especially now. So it's important for us as adults to bring that stuff up, right? So, and then she just commented again. She said that her and I, we grew up here. We don't raise to see color. Bringing this up to them is making them fully. It scares me. I don't want their views to change. So I think what she's trying to say is basically the news has an agenda a lot of times.
Yeah.
Right? I think we can all agree on that.
It can be scary.
Yeah, and making sure, Drew, kind of to hit on what you said earlier, like making sure that we're filling our young ones full of love to know that, the things that you see on TV are not necessarily what's happening. It's not always right? The things that you hear, the things that you listen to at school or on the news, if you happen to catch that, it's not the way life always is. The news portrays things a little bit differently. You guys can agree to that?
Definitely.
Yeah, facts. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really all I got, guys. Do you guys have anything else that you want to share? Any other wisdom? Anything else that you want to talk about?
I'll just say real quick, I definitely appreciate it. And then, to people out there, if they're trying to teach their kids something, just teach your kids to love everybody. Honestly, I mean, I grew up with both my parents and my brothers, great family who were, we're still tight today. And my parents just taught us to love everybody. We had everybody, all types of races, coming through our house, man, hanging out, it's not difficult just to, be cool, man. I say this all the time, and it sounds kind of cliche, it sounds kind of immature, but it's really hits home for a lot of people. It's very simple. Everybody just chill, just love everybody and just relax. It's not difficult just to be cool with everybody, man.
Yeah. Drew, you got a closing statement? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, closing statement is it takes a conscious decision an intentional work to stay woke. And what this movement has is momentum, and I just stress continue to stay woke, and that's for everyone, black, white, brown, no matter creed, color, religion. Stay woke, stay conscious, because again, I go back to the spiritual piece. You can slumber. You could eat too much of the swine and get caught back in the day to day. But this movement is going to require us to stay conscious and make a conscious decision to be intentional. And so I hope we can connect again, because I think we can talk about everything. We can talk about sports, we can talk about family, we can talk about just for the love. But this is going to be an intentional effort to discuss again and see, are we still progressing and consciously staying woke.
Right. Absolutely, man. And Brian commented, and I think this is a great place to kind of leave this whole conversation. And he said that this is a much needed conversation. Don't let it end here. And we have to continue these type of conversations.
Yes, sir, Brian.
Absolutely, man. That's the key. We have to keep open form of communication. I know I'm here whenever anybody wants to talk, right? Like I said, I don't know, I can't walk in your guys' shoes, but trust me, I know people that are, and I know really, really good, godly men and women, for that matter, that will talk to you if anybody wants to talk. Feel free to email me, sdlpod757@gmail.com, if you have any questions, if you want to talk to Bryce, if you want to talk to Drew. I know they're more than willing to talk to anybody. That's why I brought them on here.
Definitely.
So yeah, guys, I appreciate it so much. Like I said from the beginning, I'm here to listen and learn. And, I want to thank you two, especially for your mentorship, everything that y'all have taught me about life. Bryce, keep coaching the way you do. Drew,
ain't changing.
Keep living life the way you do, man.
Strong.
Absolutely. It's all love. It's for the love. Guys, I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Go vote. I'll drive you to go vote if I have to. Go vote.
Make sure you register to vote too.
Hit me. I'll pick everybody up. Well, we can all go vote at the same time.
You know what? And then afterwards, we'll come over to my crib. I got to put a pool up this weekend. If y'all want to come over and help me put a pool up, but we got a pool in the backyard.
Happy Father's Day, for the love.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate it. To you guys too.
Happy Father's Day, Bryce.
After we go vote, we'll come over to the house, have a cookout. You know what I mean? Everybody the good time. So again, guys, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Everybody be safe, stay healthy, and remember, just love each other. See y'all later.